Yo guys, welcome back to a brand new video, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at Spider-Man Miles Morales' new uniform Ancient Curse, in which he turns into a villain. So it's going to be interesting to see how he stands up in the meta. So yeah, this is the build I have right now, and in this video I'm going to be comparing him directly to his previous uniform. I have a Mighty Rage on him because I'm going to be emphasizing on Alliance Battle heavily in this video. So we're going to be using the same exact build on the previous uniform and checking out how he does in PvE. Now before we actually get into testing, I'm going to be looking at the rotation. The recommended rotation is 3 slight delay cancel, 5 cancel 4, but I am going to be using everything cancelled into 4 because I find it more convenient for myself. You don't really lose that many hits if you do use it like that. Even with the tier 3 skill, I cancel everything into the 4th skill, and he has a decent amount of hits, which makes me believe that he's going to be really good for Alliance Battle. Surprisingly enough, on the old uniform you have the exact same rotation, so nothing much has changed. I use 3 cancel, 5 cancel 4. I spam 1 and 2 in the middle, so I load up my tier 4 and tier 3 skill quicker. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the rotation. Let's get started with our testing. This is where we're gonna be keeping our scores, and let's start with World Boss Legend. We're starting with Corvus and Proxima stage 15. I've had Miles Morales at tier 4 for a while now, and I use him with a Judgment this whole time, and he performed really well in World Boss Legend, and I still think Judgment is a really good CTP for him. However, since I'm gonna be testing them out in Alliance Battle as well in this video, I changed his build to a Rage so that I get better scores in Alliance Battle, and if the scores are better with the new uniform, I might even use him on a daily basis for certain restrictions that we're gonna see when we test out Alliance Battle. But yeah, with that being said, as you can see, we're almost done with the run. He did extremely well. I'm not surprised with how good he is in World Boss Legend because he has a lot of damage in his skills. So yeah, we end with slightly under 2 minutes on the clock. And that puts our first score on the board. Now we can move on to Alliance Battle Extreme. While his value in Alliance Battle is very small, he qualifies for only 1 day, and it's the Speed Hero Day, which usually people use Luna Snow in that specific restriction. Alternatives are also like Gamora and Miss Marvel Kamala Khan. On top of that, he has all 3 cancels in this uniform, which is very good, making him versatile for all the seasons. However, he's been out for so long, his scores aren't as competitive, so he's not that enticing of an option for the specific restriction. Even though the new uniform has turned into a villain, to keep things consistent, I'm going to be using the same supports for both the older uniform and the new uniform. So yeah, let's see how we end up with this run. So it seems like we can't even reach 13 million with him. I get it, his build isn't that good, and I'm using a Mighty Rage on him. With a Brilliant Rage, maybe he would have performed better, but still, 12.5 million is not that good for my account. With that being said, let's move on to ABL. I am not expecting good things here at all, given how he performed in ABX. But yeah, he doesn't qualify for any of the restrictions. He only qualifies for no restriction days. So yeah, I'm just testing him out for the sake of the video. Let's see how he does. He does have 2 of the 3 cancels, and he only is missing Snare in his kit. I think the new uniform is definitely gonna be better than this uniform because overall it has more hits, and for Alliance Battle, hits are emphasized more than like overall damage. So let's see how we end this run. So we were barely able to cross 8 million. That's not a competitive score. But yeah, that ends the testing for the old uniform. Let's switch to the new uniform and check out how the new uniform performs. Starting again with World Boss Legends, Stage 15 of Corvus and Proxima. Surprisingly enough, they turned Miles Morales into a villain, and from the teasers and the promotional video, everybody thought at least even if he turns into a villain, he's gonna turn into a zombie, so that we can utilize the zombie supports and like the zombie buffs. However, it was a big letdown when we found out that he just turns into a villain and nothing much has changed. Even like the rotation is exactly the same. So it's kind of disappointing on paper even. So hopefully with the testing we get better results. I personally also think like the visuals were also a downgrade. The previous uniform was very minimalistic and very cool looking, but the new uniform is very meh. But yeah, while I was yapping, we were actually able to complete the run with, I think, 5 seconds quicker than the previous run. So yeah, that puts the first score on the board for the new uniform. Now we can move on to ABX and see how he does here. With him turning into a villain, he can compete in the speed villain restriction, where it's being dominated by Bullseye and Gwenpool. So if his score is competitive, he might be able to compete with the top metas for that specific restriction. Additionally, he still has the 3 cancels for all the seasons. So yeah, that keeps his versatility up for all the seasons. Unfortunately for me, I recently just tier 4'd Bullseye, so if he is very good, I'm gonna be regretting my decision tier 4'ing Bullseye. So let's see how Miles Morales does here, and hopefully it's not that good. I do plan on comparing Miles Morales' new uniform against tier 4 Bullseye. So yeah, be sure to subscribe and turn the notifications on to be updated on my next upload. As for the run, we can see we're doing extremely well compared to the previous uniform. We crossed 12 million with ease, and we can already see a massive improvement specifically in ABX. So yeah, we're gonna be ending, I think, slightly short of 15 million, but this is very impressive compared to the previous uniform. For the build, this is a solid score. Now we can move on to ABL and see how he performs here. Similarly to the old uniform, he does not qualify for anything specific here, which is a bit of a letdown. If he does perform really well, I don't really expect him to do that well. I think it's gonna be similar to Bullseye, where he doesn't really perform that well in ABL while performing decently or very good in ABX. But he does have 2 out of 3 cancels, making him decently versatile, but you're not really gonna be using him here, so yeah, it's not that important. The cancel that he is missing is Snare, which you can like get through a tier 4 striker. So yeah, there is not much to talk about. Let's see how he ends this run. Wow, it seems like the new uniform blows the old uniform score out of the water. We're crossing 10 million with ease, and I think with a better build, 12 million would be well within reach. Wow, absolutely insane improvement. So yeah, that concludes our testing. We have our final scores on the board. Now let's move on to the comparisons of the scores. So yeah, starting with World Boss Legend, the new uniform was 4% faster, which is equivalent to 5 seconds. However, moving on to Alliance Battle Extreme, the improvement was massive. The new uniform was almost 20% better, scoring 2.38 million more than the old uniform. Finally, in Alliance Battle Legends, the new uniform performed 24% better, scoring 2 million more than the old uniform. This was the biggest improvement out of the 3 game modes. With that being said, my final verdict is that the new uniform is a definite improvement over the previous uniform. Overall, as a character, Miles Morales does lack value and versatility, so I still wouldn't recommend you tier 4ing this character. And on top of that, this uniform is also a full cost uniform. I can't give you guys the final verdict whether this uniform is a must buy or not unless and until I compare him up against Bullseye to see if he is better than him, or even if he can compete with him, because if he's not that good in that specific day of ABX, I don't think he's really worth it, and this uniform would honestly be a skip. And if you already have Miles Morales at tier 4, the new uniform does provide better value, but still, as a character, I don't think Miles Morales is worth investing. This video ends with a question mark, but I honestly want to test him out a little bit more and put him up against Bullseye to give you guys the absolute final verdict on whether or not this uniform is worth it. But with that being said, this video has come to an end. Leave your thoughts down below and be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and have a great one, guys. Peace.